don't go down a category because you feel you're not good enough. Otherwise, you're never going to be good enough. Okay? You have to step up to the game. What's going on, team? George from JD Fitness Training here, and today I just want to talk about a common question I get asked, and it's, should you step on stage? Should you, step up your game and compete? And obviously, coming from a competitive background myself, I thought I'd give you guys some insight. It's a common question I get asked. What made me want to compete, and what I advise someone that wants to potentially compete for the first time. So I'm gonna quickly tell you guys why I wanted to, what got me into competing, why I started competing, and as to why I don't compete every year personally, and then I'm going to go on to as to whether you should compete or not. So if you're not really interested in my little part, then fast forward a couple minutes. So I started competing purely because I started training from a really young age, the age of 14. I went into a gym, absolutely loved it. It was just insane. It was different from anything else anyone at my age was doing at the time. It just made me really, 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 really happy. And as I always say the same story to everyone, I just remember being in a gym. It was a hardcore, old school bodybuilding gym, which no longer exists. It was Pink's Gym in Hastings. And then from then I moved on to Zeus Gym, which a lot of you that follow me closely will know all about it. But basically I just remember seeing a picture of Ronnie Coleman on a cover of a magazine. For those of you who do not know who Ronnie Coleman is, he's an 8-time Mr. Olympia champion. Look him up. Beast of a man, legendary. And I just remember looking at a picture of him on a magazine, and that was it. First time I saw him, I was 15 actually when I saw the picture of him, and just absolutely blew my mind. And I just followed him religiously to the point I used to scream out, "Yeah, buddy," when I trained. And he really, really inspired me as a person, from his background. So anyway, I've followed him for so many years. I became a massive fan of the bodybuilding industry, and wanted to challenge myself to compete. And I was surrounded by a lot of people that did compete. And the time I coached Sue, she was a competitive person. So it just over and over, I just wanted that challenge. And I just fell in love with the industry after going to countless of expos and meeting absolutely fantastic bodybuilders. One of the biggest motivators actually that encouraged me to compete back in the day before I even did so was Dusty Hanshaw, who was back then with iForce Nutrition. I believe he's now with Mutant. Dusty's a legendary, he's now IFBB Pro, and he massively inspired me at the time. And after having a deep conversation with him, I believe it was Body Power 2011, I decided that year I would 100% compete. And I've just been in love with the industry ever since. Now, the reason why I don't compete every year, although I say I'm going to compete every year, I'll compete for a year, and then it comes to the following year, and I just don't feel up to step up to plate, And I've always think it's very, very important that if you go in to compete, that it's a mindset thing, which we'll go into in a minute as to whether you should compete or not. So as a natural athlete, I think it's important that you take a certain amount of time out to be able to work on your physique, because when you're a natural bodybuilder, you can't build on muscle as fast as an enhanced athlete, okay? So I like to take a year out, make the most out of it. And I just find that taking a year out each time is beneficial for me, both mentally, physically. I learn a lot more about myself, my physique and whatnot. So that's the importance of taking a year out. Hence why I'm not competing this year. I'd rather focus on my business, giving you guys absolutely badass content. And that's that really, just my mind's not really in it. And I've always said, if my mind's not in it, I'm never going to force myself to step on stage regardless, because chances are it's going to be an appalling result because my mind's not in it. Anyway, so that's enough about me. On to the question, and to answer the question whether you should compete or not. Now, before you step on stage, actually, you know what, let's start with that again. If you're thinking about competing, if it's something that's crossed your mind, if it's something that you see other athletes and it gets you pumped up and you're like, man, I want to do it, but I'm scared, but I want to do it, I just say just go out there and do it. And it's hard to describe how hard that first decision may be. I remember the amount of times I would say I wanted to compete, and the 1 year before I sent my forms, which was the NPA I competed with at the time, my first federation I competed with, I remember I printed out the forms about 3 or 4 times, because I'd sign them, scrum up, throw them in the bin. Sign them, scrum up, throw them in the bin. And eventually I just thought, screw this, I'm going to send them off. So if it's something that, if you're in the industry, in the gym industry, and you're really passionate about, and you love training, and you want to challenge yourself, step up to the plate, go and do it, okay? But when you do go to step on stage, just take into account the amount of things that's going to happen. You need to stay committed. You need to be dedicated, okay? You need to be aware of things around you, your job, your family, your friends. And I think as the industry grows, more and more people put silly things up and moan and bitch about how prep is hard and they can't wait for a cheat meal, or they can't be bothered to do this, and they can't be bothered, or they can't wait until prep is over. If that's the kind of mindset you're dealing with, then stepping on stage is not for you. Stepping on stage should be something you want to do from the bottom of your heart, something you're passionate about, something that you're really keen on, a challenge. Is it going to be a challenge? Hell yeah. Are you going to have the motivating days more than so when you're in an off season? Yeah, probably. Is it going to be tiring? Is it going to make you angry and moody sometimes? Yeah, probably it will. But this is the things you need to take into consideration, is that you've made this choice, okay? I'll always say to people, no one's ever put a gun to your head and said, you need to do this, otherwise I'm going to pull the trigger. It's a personal choice. And it's very important. I can't stress the importance of being accountable and being aware that you have made this decision, okay? And the reason why I say this is because you see so many people on Instagram, on Facebook, and, relationships are ruined and jobs, and, you lose your career over it. And it's not worth that, okay? If you're at an amateur level, it's not worth that. And, if you want to, make a career out of bodybuilding, fair enough, give it all you got. But just remember that the resources you have available to you now, just be aware that you need them at that moment in time. So don't go cut things out. Like, don't go crazy at your boss or your employees or the people you work with because you're getting ready for your show. Because, it's not down to them. It's not down to them to understand that you've made this decision, and it's not down to your family members or your girlfriend or your boyfriend, husband, wife, or the dog or the cat to understand why you've made this decision. People never understood why I wanted to stand on stage and, in posing trunks and pose for hundreds or whatever people, but, it's hard to explain what triggers it in your mind, but it's just something I'm very passionate about and I absolutely love, and it challenges me in my life in every single aspect. So if you're going to compete, if it's something that's crossed your mind, do it. So point one, if it's crossed your mind, do it. Point two, so many times, okay, people will say, oh, I'm going to do men's physique. And before I go ahead, nothing against people that compete in men's physique categories, okay? That some of the upcoming men's physiques actually look absolutely insane. And I'm going to say it, better than bodybuilders at times. But my point, listen up, okay? So many times I'll hear people say they want to compete in bodybuilding, but they're going to do men's physique. Now, don't go down a category because you feel you're not good enough. Otherwise, you're never going to be good enough. Okay, you have to step up to the game. If bodybuilding is what you're passionate about, then go in and step on stage as a bodybuilder. If men's physique is what you're passionate about, then go on stage and step as a men's physique competitor. Okay, don't go and compete as a men's physique competitor when you want to do bodybuilding. Now, the reason why I say this is because so many people will say, well, it's easier to do men's physique. They look more natural, or, or I'm a natural athlete. Guys, let me tell you something, okay? You have both tested federations and non-tested federation. Okay, now it's up to you which one of the two you're going to go for. If you're a natural athlete and you're going for a non-tested athlete, non-tested federation, chances are, unless you're a genetic freak and depending on your age and whatnot, 9 times out of 10, you're probably going to be outsized. It's simple as that, okay? You might be the most shredded on stage, and you might have absolutely fantastic proportions and whatnot, but in terms of muscular size, you're probably going to be well off, okay? But that's up to you. You've made that decision. So if you're a natural athlete and you're concerned about if you're going to be outsized because people don't get tested, go to a tested federation. You've got the MPA, the UKDFBA, you have the BMBF, and I think in the UK, as at the top of my mind, they're the top three. They're the only 3 that I know are drug tested. I've competed with 2 of them myself. Not yet with the BMBF, but I've had amazing stuff, so do check them out. Okay. But there is no good excuse to saying you're going to do a different category because you're not good enough for the category you want to do. Okay, you need to be aware of the decisions you're making. And if you want to do bodybuilding, then do it. Okay, but just make sure you're working hard enough for it and know your options. So this is my advice to you guys. If you want to compete, go and do it. But don't blame it on other people. You know, if you're going to, just don't blame it on other people. And if you're going to bitch and moan about how hard it is and about how someone waved a freaking piece of cheesecake slice in front of you, you know, and you're going to get pissed at them, it's not their fault. Okay, and you have to understand that it's a different journey to what the everyday person sees. And, you know, imagine if I was to take out my clients every time because I'm prepping and they mention pizza and I was like, no, don't mention pizza. Imagine if I was to lose my mind. I'd have no clients. Or if I was to do that to my friends, I'd have no friends, you know? So, probably have no friends anyway, but who cares? But this is my advice to you guys. If you want to compete, go and do it. If it's something that's in your mind, if people say, hey, you got a great physique, do it. But don't do it for the Instagram likes. Don't do it if you're going to bitch and moan about every single thing, okay? Don't go down a category because you feel like you're not good enough for another one. Just go and do it. You know, I've always thought, damn, I'm going to be outside for some guys in my category, but, you know, play it in your own game. I think that's the best words. That's what I wanted to come out. Losing my words here, guys. This is what I've been wanting to say. Play life on your own game, okay? Look at the pro league, okay? You got Phil Heath and Kai Green, two different physiques, you know? Phil's going to bring his kind of 3D look and Kai Green's going to bring his mass monster, just crazy monstrous size, okay? And it's just, everyone's different. And you're going to have Sean Roden and Cedric McMillan, you know, is going to bring a more aesthetically old school look. And, you know, just play it in your own game. Your physique's going to be different to the person next to you. If you're a mass monster, then bring in size, okay? Obviously, be conditioned. You know, if you're not such a big person, but you can get absolutely freaking shredded, then get absolutely freaking shredded, pilled, right? And play it in your own game. Don't compare yourself to others. So I think this is the best advice right now at the top of my mind that I can give you guys if you're thinking about competing. I hope this is of value to you. Subscribe. If you've got any questions, drop me a message, jdfitnesstraining.co.uk. Okay, drop me an inbox or on Facebook, and I'll be more than happy to help, whether you want help with prepping or help with anything. You've got further questions regards stepping on stage. Don't be afraid. And just remember, not everyone's going to understand your journey. It's your journey to take, and it's your decision, so don't blame it on other people. Team, I hope this is of value to you. I'm over and out. Peace.